Who among us grew up without ever watching The Mask? That film was once childhood itself, a fountain of endless laughter. But behind the dazzling lights lay fates stained with tragedy. Some collapsed under the weight of depression, some had their lives stolen by cruel illness, and some left far too soon while their careers were still unfinished. Who were they? Let us uncover the stories behind the curtain and pay tribute to the legacies they left behind. Richard Jeni as Charlie Schumacher. When Richard Jeni was 37 years old, he played Charlie Schumacher in the 1994 film The Mask, the loyal best friend and comic relief alongside Stanley Ipkiss. His character brought a light-hearted, humorous balance to the chaos of the magical mask, remembered for witty banter and everyday relatability. Though not a lead, Jeni became one of the names audiences recalled when celebrating the film's resounding success. Richard John Colangelo, born April 14, 1957, in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, grew up in an Italian Catholic family. Yet his life was not haunted by a difficult childhood, but by the shadow of mental illness. In the years after fame found him, Jeni battled severe depression, diagnosed with schizophrenia marked by terrifying delusions. He was once heard whispering to himself, "Just pull the trigger." A chilling glimpse of despair few could imagine from a comedian so well known for filling rooms with laughter. In his final years, that torment gradually consumed him. Jeni still appeared on stage, still made millions laugh through HBO and Comedy Central specials, but behind the spotlight was a silent, exhausting war. On the morning of March 10, 2007, after casually talking with his girlfriend Amy Murphy about breakfast, she stepped out of the room. Moments later, a gunshot echoed. Jeni was found collapsed in the bathroom, a handgun at his side, ending his life at only 49 years old. The news shook the American entertainment world. Jay Leno replayed Jeni's final Tonight Show appearance as a farewell, while Bill Maher dedicated an entire episode of Real Time to honor his old friend. Richard Jeni left behind an estate estimated at $1.6 million, along with a legacy of laughter and a deeper compassion for those fighting mental illness. His image, an artist who could make the world roar with joy while carrying invisible pain, became a haunting symbol of the price that fame can demand. Reg E. Cathy as Freeze. At 36 years old, Reg E. Cathy appeared in The Mask, 1994, as Freeze, the cold-blooded henchman of Dorian Tyrell. Though his screen time was brief, his downfall in the world of crime added a fierce edge to the action-comedy superhero film that defined the 1990s. Born August 18, 1958, in Huntsville, Alabama, Cathy carried the tragedy of a lifelong, heavy smoking habit. His signature deep baritone voice was both his gift and his curse, each cigarette slowly destroying his lungs. He never hid this habit, and colleagues often saw him with a cigarette in hand, but few realized it would become his death sentence. Even with illness, Cathy never stopped giving. He rose among the ranks of television's finest actors, most notably as Freddie Hayes in House of Cards, a role that earned him an Emmy in 2015. Before that, audiences admired him in The Wire, Luke Cage, and numerous commanding performances. Yet lung cancer tightened its grip, weakening his body even as his spirit still burned to act. On February 9, 2018, in Manhattan, New York, Reg E. Cathy took his final breath at age 59. His net worth was estimated at $3 million, much of it earned from his acclaimed television work. Colleague David Simon bid farewell, calling him one of the most delightful and kindest human beings. The final memory he left with audiences, a warm, resonant voice silenced by smoke and illness, leaving behind an unending sense of loss. Jim Carrey as Stanley Ipkiss and The Mask. At 32, Jim Carrey set the world ablaze with his performance as Stanley Ipkiss, The Mask in the 1994 film. The timid bank clerk who transformed into a wild green superhero catapulted Carrey from a rising comedian to a global superstar. With his endlessly elastic face, rubber-like body, and high-energy acting style, Carrey not only redefined 1990s comedy, but also turned The Mask into a pop culture phenomenon. Born January 17, 1962, in Ontario, Canada, Jim Carrey's childhood was one of relentless hardship. At just 15, his family fell into homelessness, forced to live crammed inside a rundown van. Carrey dropped out of school to work as a janitor at a tire factory, spending days cleaning bathrooms and nights tirelessly writing comedy sketches. Those years seared into his memory the humiliation of poverty and the weight of helplessness, making comedy his only way to help his family forget, even briefly, the pain of their destitute lives. Yet even after becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Carrey could never escape the grip of depression that haunted him for years. He once admitted that he lived in character 24/7, to the point where the line between reality and performance disappeared. The suicide of his girlfriend, Catriona White, from prescription drugs in 2015 left a mortal wound, thrusting Carrey into a spiral of lawsuits, accusations, and bitterness. The glow of fame could not mask the darkness in the soul of a man who once made the whole world laugh. In 2025, Jim Carrey is 63 years old. He once declared his retirement, but returned for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, bitterly admitting that he needed the money. His net worth is estimated at around $180 million, but after tragedies and scandals, Carrey now lives a reclusive life, immersed in painting and philosophy. The image of a superstar who once ruled the box office now appears fragile, leaving fans both admiring and heartbroken. A genius who brought laughter to millions, yet was consumed throughout his life by darkness and pain. Cameron Diaz as Tina Carlisle. At 21, Cameron Diaz made her film debut in The Mask, 1994, as Tina Carlisle, the alluring nightclub singer and love interest of Stanley Ipkiss. The role catapulted her from an unknown model into a Hollywood star overnight, launching a dazzling career and making Diaz one of the most prominent faces of the 1990s. Yet her personal life was far from smooth. Despite years of fame, Diaz later admitted that marriage and family were what truly brought her peace. Before settling down, she endured a series of whirlwind relationships with A-list stars, from Matt Dillon and Jared Leto to Justin Timberlake. Each romance ended in breakups and heartbreak, leaving her drained and emotionally empty. It wasn't until 2015 that Diaz finally found solid ground, marrying Benji Madden of the band Good Charlotte and building a family with 2 children. After years of turmoil, that marriage became a lifeline that pulled her from the storms of her love life. Seeking to protect her family and escape the crushing pressures of Hollywood, Diaz decided to step away from acting in 2014. She openly shared that the spotlight and grueling schedules had taken part of her soul, leaving her utterly exhausted. During her retreat, Diaz devoted herself to her husband and children, wrote books on health, and co-founded the Avaline wine brand, finding healing in the simplicity of daily life. Yet behind that calm exterior still lingered the shadow of a woman who had collapsed many times under the weight of fame and failed relationships. In 2025, Cameron Diaz is 53 years old. After a decade away from Hollywood, she is returning with the action comedy Back in Action and preparing to reunite with audiences in Shrek 5. Her net worth is estimated at $140 million, but more than wealth, what resonates with audiences is her long journey through pain and loss to find simple happiness. Cameron Diaz remains a testament to the brutal price Hollywood can demand of a person. Peter Green as Dorian Tyrell. At 28, Peter Green appeared in The Mask, 1994, as Dorian Tyrell, the bloodthirsty crime boss obsessed with power and the main adversary of Stanley Ipkiss. The role not only gave the film a chilling villain, but also secured Green a place among the most memorable faces of 1990s cinema. Born October 8, 1965, in Montclair, New Jersey, Green's career path was anything but smooth. At just 20, early in his acting career, he fell into the grip of severe heroin addiction, a darkness that nearly destroyed both his life and career. Premiere magazine once exposed the truth in a long feature titled Career High, recounting the days Green collapsed from overdoses, lost major roles, and was abandoned by Hollywood. In those bleak years, he became little more than a drifting shadow between fame and ruin, a talented actor shackled by relentless addiction. After years of torment, Green fought his way back. He struggled through recovery and returned to acting, continuing to embody gritty villains in Pulp Fiction, The Usual Suspects, and Training Day. His haunted past gave his performances a terrifying authenticity that audiences couldn't look away from. Yet even after regaining his footing, Green never fully escaped the image of an outsider, a living testament to the devastating cost of addiction. In 2025, Peter Green is 60 years old. He now lives a quiet, private life away from Hollywood's chaos, occasionally taking roles in television projects such as The Continental. His net worth is estimated at around $5 million. Not a fortune compared to his peers, but a victory for a man who once stood at the edge of death. Green's story leaves audiences with a bittersweet reflection. Behind the cold eyes of Dorian Tyrell was a real man, scarred by addiction, collapse, and an enduring hunger for redemption. Amy Yasbeck as Peggy Brandt. When Amy Yasbeck was 32 years old, she played Peggy Brandt in The Mask, 1994. The quick-witted reporter who hid many schemes behind her smile. Though not a lead role, her character added another layer of drama to the story when Peggy betrayed Stanley Ipkiss for personal gain. This role highlighted Yasbeck's ability to craft characters who were both trustworthy and suspicious, walking a delicate line between charm and deceit. Born on September 12, 1962, in Cincinnati, Ohio, Amy Yasbeck's life carried a wound that never truly healed: her marriage. In 1999, she married actor John Ritter, the beloved star of Three's Company. What seemed to be lifelong happiness ended tragically just 4 years later. On September 11, 2003, Ritter suddenly died of an aortic dissection while filming. The pain was unbearable. His death fell on their daughter's 5th birthday, and just 1 day before Amy's own birthday. From that moment, her world completely collapsed. After her husband's death, Yasbeck fell into profound emptiness. She filed a lawsuit against the hospital for misdiagnosis, but soon realized no verdict could bring Ritter back. To transform grief into purpose, Amy founded the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health, dedicating her life to raising awareness of the rare heart condition that took her husband. Yet deep inside, the void Ritter left was never filled. She openly admitted she never entered another relationship, confessing, "If I were to date, I would miss John even more." In 2025, Amy Yasbeck is 63 years old. She lives in Los Angeles with her now-grown daughter, occasionally returning to acting and actively participating in advocacy work. Her net worth is estimated at $16 million, largely from roles in Pretty Woman, Problem Child, and The Mask. But more than wealth or career, audiences remember Amy for her fiery red hair on screen and for her strength as a widow who, despite her devastating loss, continues to live so that her late husband's legacy will never be forgotten. Peter Riegert as Lieutenant Mitch Kellaway. At 47, Peter Riegert joined The Mask, 1994, as Lieutenant Mitch Kellaway, the no-nonsense policeman always chasing Stanley Ipkiss. His character represented law and order, yet also delivered biting comedy as he was constantly spun in circles by the Mask's wild antics. With a performance that balanced seriousness and humor, Riegert left audiences with one of the film's most memorable supporting roles. Born April 11, 1947, in New York, Riegert's childhood was far from easy. The son of Lucille and Milton Riegert, he grew up in a middle-class Jewish family where academic pressure and high expectations weighed heavily on him. While his peers played freely, young Peter felt the isolation of a sensitive child who never quite fit in. Those difficult early years fueled his desire to break free from convention and carve his own path, even if it meant enduring hardship. As a young man, Riegert first worked as a high school teacher, a stable job that left him feeling trapped and suffocated. He took a daring leap into the arts, stepping onto Broadway and struggling to find his place. The early years were full of rejection, minor roles, and humiliating setbacks, so much so that he once considered giving up entirely. Yet through persistence and resilience, Riegert gradually built his name, gaining recognition in films like Animal House and Local Hero before leaving his mark on global audiences with The Mask. In 2025, Peter Riegert is 78 years old. He lives a peaceful life, still taking on acting projects when opportunities arise, with recent appearances in The Sopranos and Extrapolations. His net worth is estimated at $6 million. Not extravagant, but a reflection of a long, steady career of dedication. Looking back, Riegert may never have been the flashiest star, but he was an artist who endured hardship and quietly proved himself through perseverance, and it is precisely that resilience that makes audiences appreciate him all the more. Orestes Matacena as Nico. When Orestes Matacena was 53 years old, he played Nico in The Mask, 1994, the mafia boss that Dorian Tyrell plotted to overthrow. Though his character did not appear often, his commanding presence and cold sharpness left a strong impression, helping to highlight the dark underworld of the film and emphasizing the brutality of Stanley Ipkiss's journey. Born on August 29, 1941, in Havana, Cuba, Matacena carried with him a youth marked by political darkness and suffering. As a teenager, he joined the resistance against Fidel Castro's regime and witnessed his country descend into dictatorship. The fear, hunger, and tension of being hunted left scars on his soul that never faded. Eventually, he was forced to flee Cuba on a clandestine flight to Mexico, living illegally for 90 days before finally reaching the United States with nothing but empty hands and not a single word of English. In his early days in America, Matacena washed dishes 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, earning only $30 a week to survive. At times, he was so poor that for 3 days he lived on half a slice of bread and 1 apple. Yet out of this hardship, Matacena cultivated strength and determination, throwing himself into the arts. He built a stage in his tiny living room, then gradually developed a theater, wrote plays, directed, and persevered to become an independent artist. Those years at rock bottom forged him into someone strong and unyielding, a man who would never accept the words, "give up." In 2025, Orestes Matacena is 84 years old. He lives with his partner Orna Rakovitsky, still healthy and filled with passion for the theater. His net worth is estimated at about $1 million, not large compared to many peers, but a testament to a life of dedication and triumph over adversity. Looking back, audiences see not just the mob boss, Nico, on screen, but the portrait of a man who once lost everything, then courageously rebuilt from the ashes, a tragic yet inspiring story of tears and admiration. Dennis Forrest as Sweet Eddie. Dennis Forrest was 34 years old. He appeared in the 1994 film The Mask as Sweet Eddie, the loyal henchman of Dorian Tyrell. Though only a supporting role, his sharp eyes and intense action scenes left a lasting impression on audiences, adding to the violent atmosphere that underpinned the blockbuster action comedy of the 1990s. Born on September 5, 1960 in Ottawa, Canada, Denny grew up in a childhood filled with loneliness. Coming from a working-class family, he soon realized he was different from other children. Sensitive, passionate about literature and painting, and always longing to escape the confines of a poor environment. That sense of isolation caused deep emotional wounds, pushing him toward art as a refuge. Yet behind the theater doors, his private life was nearly empty, lacking a true sense of home. Dennis's career path was fraught with difficulties. He was often typecast as villains, henchmen, or strange characters, as though his unusual appearance and aura imprisoned him in a single mold. Despite his wide-ranging talents as a painter, sculptor, and even screenwriter, he never escaped the shadow of being the bad guy on screen. The pressures of Hollywood life, combined with recurring headaches and chronic fatigue, gradually drained him both mentally and physically. Still, he forced himself to keep working, as though he knew his time was running out. Tragedy struck on the evening of March 18, 2002. After dinner with friends in Hollywood, Denis suddenly collapsed from a massive stroke. He was rushed to the hospital but did not survive, passing away forever at the age of 41. His net worth was estimated at only around $500,000, a modest figure compared to his years of dedication to cinema. Denis is remembered as a multi-talented but ill-fated artist, a sensitive soul longing to be understood, yet who left the world in solitude. His sudden death, with his career unfinished, became a painful reminder for colleagues and fans alike that behind the spotlight lie fragile lives, as breakable as his own. Jim Doughan as Detective Doyle. When Jim Doughan was 35 years old, he appeared in The Mask, 1994, as Detective Doyle, the clumsy policeman and humorous sidekick of Lieutenant Kellaway. His character brought moments of lightness, balancing the tension and crime that dominated the film. The role allowed Doughan to leave an impression on audiences, even as a supporting character, thanks to his witty demeanor and charming expressions. Born on August 2, 1959, in Apple Valley, Minnesota, Doughan's life followed a path few would have expected. Instead of scandals or downfalls, the most defining milestone in his life was marriage and family. In 1988, he married actress and screenwriter Kate Benton, his fellow performer from the comedy troupe The Groundlings. They became not only husband and wife, but also companions in their careers, stepping away from Hollywood together to become educators, dedicating themselves to inspiring the next generation of artists. Beyond the spotlight, Doughan chose a career in teaching at Harvard Westlake School in Los Angeles, where he taught theater, language, and even creative writing classes. He also organized short play workshops, mentored students, and directed numerous school productions. It was a very different journey, one of sacrifice, as he left behind opportunities in film to build a stable family life and foster an artistic community through education. In 2025, Jim Doughan is 66 years old. He and his wife live happily and peacefully together, continuing to teach and nurture new generations of students in Los Angeles. His net worth is estimated at about $1 million, modest compared to his peers, but proof of a life dedicated to happiness, knowledge, and service, rather than flashy fame. Jim Doughan, once the man who made audiences laugh in The Mask, is now remembered as a simple, enduring, and deeply humane figure. Tim Bagley as Irv Ripley. When Tim Bagley was 37 years old, he appeared in The Mask, 1994, as Irv Ripley, the greedy and indifferent mechanic who helped set Stanley Ipkiss on a path of trouble from the very beginning. Though only a small role, his character created a sense of frustration while offering a satirical look at the selfishness often found in everyday life, making the film more vivid and multi-layered. Born on August 17, 1957, Bagley endured a devastating personal tragedy in the early years of his career. He was openly gay at a time when Hollywood and American society were still deeply prejudiced. His greatest heartbreak came in 1995, when he lost his partner of 10 years to kidney failure complications related to AIDS. That loss left an unfillable void in his heart and forced him to confront loneliness, stigma, and the fear of a disease that had devastated an entire generation. Instead of collapsing, Bagley turned his pain into strength. He threw himself into acting and became a familiar face on American television with unforgettable roles: Larry in Will and Grace, Harold Crenshaw in Monk, and many others. He also used his public platform to speak out about acceptance and the grief endured by the LGBT community during the AIDS crisis, transforming his personal story into a source of shared empathy for millions. In 2025, Tim Bagley is 68 years old. he continues to act, taking part in projects both large and small, maintaining his vitality and positive energy. His net worth is estimated at around $1 million, mostly from long-running television roles. Yet Bagley's greatest legacy is not just the laughter he has given, but the story of a man who overcame prejudice, grief, and loss to live true to himself and inspire future generations. Joely Fisher as Maggie. When Joely Fisher was 27 years old, she appeared in The Mask, 1994, as Maggie, the woman who appeared briefly at the beginning of the story, helping to illustrate Stanley Ipkiss's shy and unlucky nature. Though it was only a minor role, it became one of her first stepping stones, bringing her closer to movie audiences before she rose to fame on television with numerous acclaimed roles. Born on October 29, 1967, in Burbank, California, Joely's life was marked by family tragedy. The daughter of singer Eddie Fisher and actress Connie Stevens, she grew up in what she herself described as a fishbowl, a life constantly under watch, filled with pressure and isolation. Her greatest pain came in 2016, when her half-sister, actress Carrey Fisher, suddenly passed away. The loss sent Joely into a spiral, but it also inspired her to write a memoir, revealing painful truths while helping her rediscover her creative voice. Instead of retreating into silence, Joely Fisher pressed forward. She continued to nurture her passion for the arts, with memorable roles in Ellen, Till Death, and a career in musical theater. She also branched into directing, writing, and advocating for social issues. Above all, motherhood became her deepest source of strength. Married to Christopher Duddy since 1996, she and her husband raised 5 children, including their adopted daughter Olivia Luna in 2008. In 2025, Joely Fisher is 58 years old. She continues to work in multiple artistic fields, acting, singing, and directing. Her net worth is estimated at around $10 million, mostly from television and stage work. But her true value lies not in wealth, but in her resilience, the image of a woman who endured deep grief, yet transformed loss into a driving force to stand tall, create, and inspire audiences around the world. Behind the mask of dazzling laughter lie lives forever marked by tragedy. They left immortal memories in The Mask, but the price they paid in real life leaves us breathless with sorrow. Do you still remember who has passed away and who continues their journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep uncovering the stories hidden behind Hollywood's bright lights.